Hello, my name is Samuel Acosta.
Hi, my name is Natalia Flores, and today we're at a different location with
Sheriff David Hathaway of the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Hathaway, for joining us today. Today we'll be interviewing Mr. Hathaway along with giving you a tour of the sheriff facility.
Yeah, I love the podcast that you guys have done, Mr. Acosta, Ms. Flores, and I thought we'd do something a little different where you can actually see the inside of the sheriff's office. So we're going to walk through the sheriff's office and I'm going to show you some interesting things. Very few people see the inside of the sheriff's office. So right now we are in the gym. This is the gym of the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office that the employees can use. You see the different weight racks and the different machines and the treadmills and whatnot in here. And I'm going to keep it moving so that this doesn't go too long. Next, we're going to go across the hall to the 911 dispatch center. These are where all the emergency calls come into the county. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. As you see, this room is kind of dark because they need to be able to read the screens. You may not know this, but when you call 911 from your cell phone, there's a GPS signal that's part of that call, and it's displayed on the maps over here of the county, where they can see exactly the location of that call, where that call is coming in. And I'm staying close to the camera so it picks up the audio. But we have several workstations here. They take calls for fire, medical, law enforcement, public safety calls, and feel free to walk closer.
Okay, what's the address?
Hi. And these are for all the calls coming to the county, any kind of emergency. Could be somebody having a heart attack, and then we will route the call to a fire department. Depending on the part of the county, it could be Sonoyta Fire Department, Tubac Fire Department, Nogales Fire Department. Or if it's a fire call, the same thing. Or if it's a public safety call, we will route it to Sheriff's Office deputies or other agencies like Highway Patrol, DPS. So that's what you're seeing here. It's interesting, very high tech. Your call comes in and it pops up a location on the map where you are. So even if you're lost and you don't know where you are, your location will pop up on the map. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to show you some other things.
Okay. And let's say if the animal control or someone were to report about an animal, does the call come here as well?
Yeah, all calls come here, and then they are routed to the appropriate department, like the Animal Control Department or the Forest Service. It could be multiple agencies. All the calls come here, even if they're going to go to a federal agency, county, city, or state agency, they all come in through here. You basically learn everything on the job. Good communication skills. I think you said on one of your podcasts you're going to major in communication. This is a good practical job where you use communication skills, and I think you would like to go on to be an ESPN reporter, if I remember. But a lot of people start out a career that they're even working on their college degree, while they work here. So a lot of people are working on college degrees, and you need to be able to juggle a lot of information in your head to be a dispatcher and keep track of where all the deputies are and all the data on the calls coming in. So it's a somewhat stressful job, and that's operating 24 hours a day. I'm going to show you now what's called the Sally Port. This is where the jail entry is. Any prisoner coming into the jail, you can see the barbed wire up on top there. Controlled entry, double doors. Law enforcement people come in there. They're buzzed in, they come in here, and that's the door closest behind them, and there's a secure entry called the Sally Port. So that's where all agencies that bring prisoners in here. It's not just the Sheriff's Office, it's Nogales Police Department, Arizona Department of Public Safety, federal agencies. All prisoners in the county come in here. We house the prisoners for all agencies. And there's kind of our parking lot in here. And I'm trying to talk loud because I do get far from the camera and we're not using the microphone, so I know the audio might not be great. But I'm going to keep it moving. There's more things.
What is your biggest joy of working?
Just for me personally, it's when people get injured or they die. I get dispatch logs sent to me for 3 shifts a day of what has happened on that shift. So there's 3 shifts every day, 24 hours a day. And I get to hear whenever somebody dies or there's some incidents of violence. So that's kind of a hard thing to deal with, to know that, I'm the first one that gets notified, whether it's a sweet old lady that dies in her home or whether there's an act of violence. So those are always challenges, but we do respond to those things with a patrol officer and often a detective from our CID, our Criminal Investigation Division, to follow up on it and to see like if there was an incident where somebody should be charged with a crime. Just law enforcement in general can be stressful. Like we saw the dispatch center, that's stressful, but the office, the life of a deputy sheriff is stressful. This county has like 1,234 square miles of territory. So we have single officer units. That means one officer by themselves going out late at night could be to the San Rafael Valley, to Canelo, Sonoita, Ruby, and oftentimes there is no backup. So you will have the stress of having to figure things out on scene once you get there. While we're by this door, I'm just going to tell you, this is the door that goes into the jail. And if you can see this sign here, it says, hat, cell phone, ammunition, weapons allowed beyond this point. So if there is somebody coming in here going into the jail, we have these special lock boxes to lock up any guns, knives, cell phones, weapons that they have before they go in there. But actually, most of this building is the jail. This building looks big from the outside, but 3/4 of the building is the jail. A lot of the first floor and all of the second floor is all the jail. So the sheriff's office part is relatively small. It was asked, what are the requirements to do this job? Well, a lot of our officers start in the jail with no experience. You only have to be 18 years old to start, and a lot of them start as detention officers. And then that's kind of a stepping stone for a lot of people. After they get some experience working in the jail, they often apply to be a deputy sheriff. And then there's more complex assignments as a deputy sheriff, like you can become promoted, become a corporal, a sergeant. You can do a specialized assignment like Criminal Investigation Division, which is like the detectives. And as a matter of fact, this room here, this is our training room. Today, our detectives are undergoing training on a new crime scene scanning technology, where we will have the ability to do a 3D scan of a crime scene and recreate that scene for the county attorney's office and for courts and trials if it ever goes to trial. So this is where we do all our training. Sometimes we'll do award presentations and things in here. So it's kind of our biggest room, and we can do presentations on the screen over there. So that's largely what we do is training in here.
Is a forensics degree required to be a detective?
No. Some of our officers do have degrees, but it's not. Typically, you have to be a regular deputy for a few years, which, like I said, there's no college degree or anything required for that. And the starting pay is good. The starting pay is about $50,000 for no experience, like $49,000 and something for no experience. And then you get overtime on top of that. There's medical benefits, paid leave, paid sick leave, paid vacation time. And a pension. After 20 years, 25 years, a person can earn a pension. One of the few jobs where you can still earn a pension. You can retire early and earn a pension after that. But to go work in CID, our Criminal Investigations Division, no additional training, just the experience of being a patrol deputy. Start out doing that, do that for a few years, and then apply for a detective's position. So no, there is no requirement in our agency to have a college degree or specialized training in forensics. Mm-hmm. They do get forensics training on the job, fingerprint analysis, crime scene processing, drug analysis, doing interview techniques. Our detectives do get that kind of training, but they don't have to come in with training ahead of time for that. Okay. Any more questions before we move on?
Do you have to be a sheriff for that required time?
You could potentially transfer in from another agency or another experienced law enforcement field. The reason they have to come in from a law enforcement agency is they are all certified peace officers. All of our detectives are certified peace officers. And that's the title you get when you train to become a law enforcement officer in any agency in Arizona, county, state, city. They all have to go through a peace officer academy. And I like the title peace officer because it means keep the peace, know, and that's what your intent is, not to just go out and arrest people, it's to keep the peace, to resolve problems. And our detectives all have to have a few years of peace officer experience, meaning that they're certified law enforcement officer in Arizona before they would become a detective in our agency. So to answer your question, you couldn't just come in with a college degree in forensics and transfer right into being a detective. You'd have to, we go through the law enforcement certification process. Okay. And we're not a big enough agency to have, our own, like this county doesn't have our own medical examiner. Like if there's a person that dies under suspicious circumstances, we don't do the autopsy and the toxicology here. we do it with Pima County because Pima County has a medical examiner's office. So we will send the body up there and they'll do, the analysis, toxicology, and analyze fluids for, any chemicals that may be in there, look for any blunt force trauma or any signs that it was of a violent death. So we can't do that here just because we're a small county. So we send that type of forensic analysis up to Pima County if it's to do with, say, a dead body or something like that. The last thing I'm going to show you, I think you guys are going to find this interesting. We have a room that's kind of like a big video game. It's for shooting scenarios where the officers are trained to use their judgment on whether to defend themselves, whether to use force in a certain situation or not. So it's an interesting room, 360 degrees panorama, and it will project an image, and then the officers go in there and train in different scenarios, like different video scenarios, to use their judgment on how to react. So that's the last thing we're going to look at.
So yes, it's designed. It's we don't have a shooting range here, so this is kind of like the second closest thing that we have. We use weapons that are very exactly like what we use. They're you could say real, but they're charged with gas. They have like a CO2, and we fill them here. And so yes, this room it's got like 360 degree view. So we play it's almost like a big video game. It's kind of fun for us, right? We go in there and we'll see different scenarios that we choose for the officers, the deputies, and then. Yes, it's sometimes it's a shoot, no shoot, but there's a lot of stuff that comes into play. So we might be able to get to a situation and just our presence alone, right, showing up in uniform, the way we stand, the way we speak, might de-escalate that situation in itself. Or we might have a scenario where if we're too soft-spoken or just kind of not really, showing that command, then that person continues to do whatever he's not supposed to be doing. And then we, at this control center, if we don't see that we're getting what we want the officer to do, then we kind of let the scenario run, and the suspect in this case, or the person who's in the video, will either pull out a gun or maybe.
Can you turn on the scenario so we
Sure.
can see what it's like?
Let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and
Just
so you guys can kind of see. Scoot in.
Oh, great. I knew somebody was going to call you guys.
So you can see it's 360 degrees like that.
So he's doing something, right? He's like maybe illegal dumping, he's throwing stuff, and we're supposedly talking to this guy, right? We're telling him to stop doing what he's supposed to do.
Yeah, and you can see the projectors up here on top that project onto all the different walls.
Is he sitting still?
So at this point, the officer would react however.
Yeah, he would give him instructions, right?
Why you gotta give me a hard time?
Like we're talking to him, or
This is my friend's lot. I can jump here.
so so depending on what we want the officer to do.
Well, if you could do a little demonstration, we're probably going to wrap this up in a few minutes.
Sure.
And then if I don't know if you're able to.
So if you want, so we would come in here, and I don't know if you want to maybe press like a threat. So what we would probably do is he would trigger something in the computer. If you guys want to stand like right back here. So if he's not complying, or I'm telling him to stop, remember he's got something in his hands already, right? So I would tell him, hey, leave that on the truck, and step off the truck and come and talk to me or whatever. But if he doesn't, and then he decides to in this case, throw the brake at me, and if I see that it's a threat to me,
You want me to put the block down?
and then he's gonna go.
Put the block down. Huh? Yeah, I'll put the block down.
So in this case, I would have to, in this case, shoot.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
so depending on if I'm gonna have interaction with him, if
All
I'm
right.
not complying, in this case, he's like, hey, you know what, I'm gonna stop doing what you're asking me to do. There are a lot of scenarios. That's just a break. That's just one. There's other ones that got, people have knives, or they've got, you can see a gun that's tucked in their waistline. That's when you tell them, hey, don't reach for that. Leave that alone. Get on your knees and do it.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much. We're going to move on.
Okay, Sheriff.
Thank you, Deputy. This is kind of the end of what I was going to show you, but I'm glad to answer any questions if there's anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, of course. Like, what's your background? Where were you born and raised? What made you want to pursue being sheriff of Santa Cruz County?
Yeah. I tell people I was born at Burger King because Burger King used to be Hospital San Jose downtown. So it's like, I told the manager there at Marlene, hey, I was born here. I was here before you. This is my house. But yeah, I was born in Nogales. My family's been here 6 generations. My family has been in law enforcement. I was born here, grew up here. I went to Little Red School. My wife went to Lincoln School over there on Perkins, and we went to Wade Carpenter and to the old Nogales High School. Then I went to the U of A. My great-grandfather used to patrol this county on horseback between Low-Keel and Nogales. And this was before Arizona was a state. We have a nice framed thing where he is declared to be a captain in the territorial militia of Arizona. And so he patrolled the border back then, before Arizona was even a state. So in the 1800s, turn of the century, 1900, my dad was the county attorney, the elected county attorney, the same position that George Silva has now in the county. Then my dad became a judge. After I got out of the U of A, I started with this sheriff's office. So a few sheriffs ago, under Jaime Teachea was the sheriff, and then I did a federal career with DEA, and I transferred all over the world. I lived 8 years in South America, and then when I retired, I was back home here, and I just decided to run for sheriff. Since I grew up here and I speak Spanish, and I thought it would be a good fit. And I try to be an ambassador for our county. People say so many things about, Nogales is out of control, the border is out of control, and it's a lot of nonsense, so I try to be an ambassador for our safe community, that we have a very safe border here. So that's kind of how I got in this position. And then it's an elected position, so I had to campaign, talk to the voters, knock on doors in order to get their votes. And then I've been elected twice so far. So I'm on my 2nd term now. It's a four-year term.
What was the hardest part about your campaign?
It wasn't hard for me. Me and my wife, we did it together, kind of like a team. We talked to thousands of people. We knocked on thousands of doors. And my wife would stay up to midnight every night writing letters to everybody we talked to. Handwritten letters, not photocopied, not a form letter, personalized to the individual. So she gets a lot of credit. But it's always been fun for me to interact with people. And most of my campaign was in Spanish in Nogales because, a lot of people, life operates in Spanish in Nogales. But campaigned throughout the county, and I enjoyed interacting with people, so it was fun for me. I kind of think it would depend on your personality. If you have both the law enforcement background, which would make you a good candidate for sheriff, and the ability to talk to people, the people skills that you can just go approach just everyday people and talk to them. So it wasn't really hard. I think the hardest thing for me was some of the bureaucracy around campaigning. There's things called campaign finance reports, where you have to file reports about your finances, about how you spend your money to make sure you don't do anything appropriate with campaign funds. So that was a bit challenging, just kind of the bureaucracy, meeting all the state requirements and county requirements to do the campaign. But the talking to the people was a joy for me. It was fun.
Do you believe that personal touch got you a lot of votes, or most of your votes?
I think so. I think that was it. My desire to go campaign in person. Some people would only campaign through social media. They think social media is the wave of the future. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. So a lot of people would be just kind of doing their whole campaign on a keyboard. Where me, I know the value of old-fashioned campaigning. Gastando los zapatos, just knocking on doors, wearing out shoes, talking to tons of people. And that was the whole key for me. A bit of social media, a bit of other traditional advertising like, radio and billboards and things like that, signs, but mainly the personal touch, like all the neighborhoods, not just the ritzy neighborhoods, but all the poor neighborhoods, everybody, honoring the people by coming to them in person and ask, hey, how can I help you? I'm running for sheriff. Is there anything I can do for you? So that personal touch, especially in our county, makes a huge difference. Now, if you're in Phoenix or something, running for sheriff in Maricopa County, I don't think you'd be able to do that, just go do the personal touch. But in our county, it was pretty doable for me to just go out and talk to thousands of people one at a time, knocking on doors.
Yeah, we're relatively small, so it's pretty much very easy.
Do you also have do you also do that, the touch along with new recruits?
The personal touch.
Yeah, well, our recruits have what we call an FTO phase, field training officer phase, where they learn to interact with the community. And yes, recruits, the process for hiring is multifaceted. There's a physical training test where you have to go run a certain amount, do push-ups and things, and then they're interacting with the command staff and with their field training officer the whole time during the hiring process. And after they're hired, after they go to the academy, they go to an academy at the expense of the county. And then we make it clear to them that the people are who we serve. you know, to make sure to interact with the people, get out of the car, talk to the people, so they don't just think the sheriff office is just a black and white car hiding behind a tree to give you a ticket, so that the public doesn't have that impression, that they know that the officers are trained to go talk to them in person. Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest success story?
Oh boy. Well, a thing that we went through successfully was we added the town of Patagonia to our patrol area. Like Patagonia used to have a marshal's office. They are an incorporated town. There's 2 incorporated areas. That means like cities with their own government. The city of Nogales and the town of Patagonia, the village of Patagonia. So by their town charter, they have to have law enforcement. They used to have a marshal's office. That wasn't working out well for them. So we did a contract, did liaison with them to where we now officially provide law enforcement for Patagonia. And talking about a future challenge with the mine coming in to the Patagonia area, we're expecting we're going to have to add to the number of our officers that patrol in that part of the county. And we are hoping we can negotiate with the mine where they will pay part of the burden for that they will somehow help the county to afford the additional patrol requirements, because there's going to be a lot more traffic to do with the mine, the workers and vehicles and trucks coming in and out. So, and more people living out there, operating out there. So in order for us to be responsible for that part of the county, which used to be kind of just kind of a smaller burden on the county. Most of the population is Rio Rico and Nogales, Tubac, Quino Springs. But that was kind of a smaller population area. Still a priority, but now it's going to be a bigger priority to make sure anything to do with the mines is, you know, the additional traffic, just additional car incidents, traffic control, that we have the amount of people to do that.
Do you have any message you would like the public to know about?
No, well, just that we really appreciate what the public does to keep this county safe. It's not just us, it's mainly the members of the community that keep the county safe, you know, that they do safe practices, and we are a very friendly community. People are very concerned about their neighbors. I would say that's not so much in big cities, but down here we do have that tradition of, you know, being muy amable, very neighborly, helpful to people, even if poor people will still, like when I go knock on doors, it could be a poor person that has nothing. May, you know, invitaron para un vaso de agua or anything like that. So I just think realizing that the public has a lot to do with public safety, you know, just the way they drive, the way they treat each other. So just that message would just be a message of thanks to the public for, you know, contributing to public safety in the county. It's not just us, it's the public that does the biggest part.
Thank you. And some kind of personal questions. When you were at the U of A, did you watch any football games? Or you're not a fan?
Actually, very little, because my family has a ranch. So we have a ranching property in Santa Cruz County and in Cochise County. So on the weekends, I was working with my dad on the ranch. So it's kind of like I didn't do a lot of that, you know, a little bit. You know, there's of course the rivalry between the Wildcats and the Sun Devils, you know, ASU versus U of A and all that, but not really too much into that, just because we had responsibilities down here on the ranch. So I would help out with that, just like my dad when he went to the U of A and he became county attorney and then a judge after that. Same thing, he worked on his dad's ranch. So it's just kind of been a thing in our family of the ranching tradition. So a little bit of that, but not too much, because I was mainly down here in Nogales on weekends.
Did you rope?
Yeah.
Are you a healer or a header?
Well, you kind of need to do a bit of both depending on what position you're doing, but you know, you're typically roping calves. It's usually not big animals. That's very dangerous to rope big animals. Like in rodeos, they do that, but ranchers try to avoid that because there's a lot of weight. And my dad had part of his thumb cut off. You know, when the rope goes around the saddle horn, if it's a big heavy animal, they can just cut your fingers off if you're doing the rope around the saddle horn. So it's typically small animals, and typically you're just roping them around the head, but you know, sometimes both ways.
How tall are you?
I'm almost 6'5", a little bit under 6'5".
How long have you been like that?
What's that?
How long have you been that height?
I think I got that height when I was probably 15 or 16. I think I didn't really grow after that. I noticed that sometimes you guys take questions at the end of your interviews. Let me ask you some questions. Okay. Typically, law enforcement has to be very observant, right? It's part of being law enforcement. Okay, both of you, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Okay, Ms. Flores, what is Mr. Acosta wearing? What does his shirt look like?
It's a black t-shirt. He has Yeah, just a black t-shirt. His pants are cargo pants. I'm not sure if they're green or black. And his shoes are Doc Martens, like black.
Okay, Mr. Acosta, same question about Miss Flores. Describe what she's wearing. Like if she was a criminal and you saw her, but now you can't see her, what she look like? What's she wearing today?
Just wearing a white t-shirt, a pair of jeans, and some white shoes with a black star in them. Wait, no, it's not a star, it's a B.
Wow. Almost like you're peeking. Well, that's excellent. Okay, yeah, like very good. You guys are very observant. And one more, just to try to fit the modern environment. Is AI going to take over the world?
It depends on the job.
Okay.
It could, but it depends if society really wants them to take over. If people are really dedicated to their job, they'll find a way to do better and not let that happen.
Okay, and another kind of more down in the weeds question about AI. You guys are both recent students. How much percentage-wise do students use AI to do their classwork and their homework?
50 to 80%.
Wow.
Well, I know that it just depends. Like some people just use it like correctly, like rather than just like doing like cheating in a way, you know, getting it done with. Some people like actually use it for a good matter, some don't. So I mean, so bad. I'd say like 90%. Honestly.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, we use it at work, but to revise speeches or just articles, we don't use it. Write me an article about Mr. Velasquez retired. We don't like to use it that way.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming over. It's
Thank you
been
so much.
fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And anytime, feel free to come over. And we like giving tours. Not too many people get tours in this building, so it was really enjoyable for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching our interview with Mr. Hathaway. Sam, any questions? Sorry, I cut you off.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say that this was also my first time here, actually, like inside the sheriff's department. So I thought it was really interesting. Thank you so much for giving us a tour.
Great. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll stay tuned for the next video.